The silence in the chamber was so complete that Lara could hear her own heartbeat. 247 species stared at the display screen where her reading pulsed like a wound. The crimson color seemed to throb with each passing second, and the warning symbols kept multiplying around it. "There is a mistake," the Varathan speaker announced. Its voice was higher than before, and its wings would not stop shaking. "The human will step through again." Lara looked at Daniel and Megan. They both shrugged. She turned and walked back through the arch. The same thing happened. The lights wrapped around her, read her, measured her. And when the display updated, it showed the same impossible crimson. The crowd began to murmur. Lara could not understand most of the languages, but she could read body language well enough. The aliens were confused. Some were scared. A few were angry. "Scan the other humans." A Keth voice rumbled from somewhere in the crowd. Daniel stepped forward without being asked. He walked to the platform with the steady pace of a soldier and passed through the arch without hesitation. Crimson dot, the same deep red, the same pulsing pattern, the same warning symbols. Megan went next. She was nervous, Lara could tell, but she kept her face calm. She walked through the arch and waited. Crimson dot. The Varathan technicians were now making sounds that needed no translation. They were panicking. They brought out new equipment, ran tests on the arch, checked their calculations over and over. Other species began pushing forward, demanding explanations. "What does this mean?" someone shouted. "The scanner is broken," another voice declared. "It has never been wrong before," a Varathan replied. A Keth warrior shoved its way to the front. Lara recognized it as Vorik, one of the senior military leaders of their species. He was even larger than most Keth, with a scar running down one side of his face and eyes that held nothing but contempt. "This is foolishness," Vorik said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "These humans are weak, small. They break easily and die quickly. I have seen their records. They cannot even survive without clothing and shelter. They are prey animals." "The scanner does not lie," the Varathan speaker insisted. "Then your scanner is worthless." The argument continued for several minutes. Lara stood with her team off to the side, watching the chaos unfold. She did not understand what was happening, but she knew better than to interrupt. Finally, a luminary elder drifted forward. Its body shifted through colors that seemed to calm the crowd. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once. "We should understand what this reading means before we argue about it," the luminary said. "Explain the crimson classification. What does it indicate?" The Varathan speaker was quiet for a moment. When it answered, its voice was carefully controlled. "Crimson is a theoretical category. It exists in our equations, but has never been observed in reality. It indicates a species with no upper limit on adaptive potential. A species that can survive anything, overcome anything, defeat anything. Not through current strength, but through the ability to change, to grow, to become whatever they need to become." "That is impossible," Vorik said. "We thought so too." Until now, the luminary elder moved closer to the human delegation. Its form shifted into softer colors as it approached, perhaps trying to seem less threatening. "Humans," it said, "you are very new to space travel." "How long have your people existed?" Megan answered. "About 300,000 years in our current form. Our civilization is roughly 10,000 years old. And in that time, what challenges have your people faced?" Megan glanced at Lara, who nodded for her to continue. "We have faced ice ages that covered much of our planet. Plagues that killed large portions of our population. Wars, famines, disasters of every kind. We have survived impacts from space rocks, massive volcanic eruptions, and changes in climate that wiped out other species. Yet you are still here." "Yes." The luminary was quiet for a moment. "And each time, your people adapted? Changed? Found new ways to survive? That is what we do, Megan said simply. The elder drifted back toward the center of the chamber. The scanner does not measure what you are now. It measures what you could become. What your biology and psychology allow you to become under pressure. It paused. I begin to understand the crimson reading. Vorak made a disgusted sound. I do not care what some machine says. I care about reality. And the reality is that humans are nothing. They have one planet, one species. They are children playing in the space between stars. Children grow, Lara said. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. She had not spoken loudly, but her voice carried in the sudden quiet. Vorak stared at her with his cold reptile eyes. What did you say? I said children grow. Lara stepped forward, putting herself between her team and the massive Keth warrior. She barely came up to his chest, but she did not look away. You call us children. Fine, but think about what that means. Children learn. Children adapt. Children become adults. You threaten us. I am stating a fact. Every challenge makes us stronger. Every loss teaches us something. Every defeat makes us more determined to win the next time. Lara kept her voice calm and steady. Your species reached its peak long ago. You are powerful now, and you will be powerful tomorrow. But you are finished growing. We are just getting started. The chamber was completely silent again. Even the murmuring had stopped. Vorak leaned down until his face was only inches from Lara's. His breath was hot and smelled like copper. You are brave for something so small. Or perhaps you are simply stupid. Perhaps you cannot tell the difference. For a moment, Lara thought he might kill her right there. The Keth were not known for patience or mercy. But something in her eyes made him pause. Something he had never seen in a prey species before. He pulled back. We will see what you truly are, he said. Not today, but soon. He turned and walked away. The crowd parted to let him through. Lara exhaled slowly. Her heart was pounding, but she had not let it show. Daniel moved up beside her. That was either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both, she admitted. The Varathan speaker called for order. The assembly would continue, it announced, but the matter of the human readings would be investigated further. The scanning process was paused until the technicians could explain what had happened. As the crowd began to break up into smaller groups, Lara noticed something interesting. The aliens were not ignoring the humans anymore. They were watching them, studying them, trying to figure out what they had missed. Megan looked at her tablet, which was showing a flood of incoming messages from Earth. The news of the crimson reading was already spreading. In a few hours, every species in the galaxy would know that humans had broken the scanner. What happens now? Megan asked. Lara watched the aliens watching her. Now they try to understand us. They will study our history, our biology, our psychology. They will run tests and build models and argue about what the reading really means. And what does it mean? Lara thought about the question. She thought about her species, her people, her planet. She thought about all the times humanity had been knocked down and gotten back up again. It means they were right to ignore us before, she said. And they are right to pay attention now. Because we are dangerous? Lara shook her head. Because we are not finished yet. And they have no idea what we will become. The space station called Nexus Prime was the biggest thing humans had ever seen. It sat in the middle of empty space, far from any star or planet. 12 different trade routes met at this point, and ships from 100 different worlds came and went every hour. The station was so large that it had its own weather inside. Clouds formed near the ceiling of the main chamber, and sometimes it even rained. Lara Bant stood near one of the massive windows and looked out at the ships. She was 34 years old, with dark hair and brown eyes that noticed everything. She wore the simple gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. A small pin on her collar showed the blue and green of her home planet. First time seeing this many aliens in one place? Asked Daniel Cooper. He stood beside her, his hands clasped behind his back. Daniel was her security officer, a calm man in his early 40s who rarely showed emotion. He had spent 20 years in Earth's military before taking this job. First time seeing this many aliens anywhere, Laura replied. The pictures do not do it justice. Behind them, Dr. Megan Shaw was reading something on her tablet. She was the youngest member of their team, only 28, but she knew more about alien biology than anyone else on Earth. Her red hair was cut short, and she wore glasses that she did not actually need. She said they made other species take her more seriously. According to my data, there are representatives from 247 different species here today, Megan said without looking up. Some of them have been traveling between stars for longer than humans have existed. And they all think we are children, Daniel added. He was not wrong. Humanity had only discovered faster-than-light travel 18 years ago. In galactic terms, that made them newborns. Most species had been exploring space for thousands of years. Some had been doing it for millions. To them, humans were interesting curiosities at best. At worst, they were pests who had somehow stumbled onto technology they did not deserve. The main chamber of Nexus Prime was filling up now. Laura watched as creatures of every shape and size found their places. There were the Keth, massive reptiles who stood over 9 feet tall and had scales that could stop bullets. There were the Varathan, insect-like beings who moved in perfect coordination and communicated through clicking sounds. There were the Luminari, who did not have physical bodies at all, but existed as shifting patterns of light and energy. And there were humans. 3 of them, standing in a corner and trying not to look as out of place as they felt. A loud tone echoed through the chamber, and everyone grew quiet. A Varathan moved to the center of the room. Its wings caught the light and sparkled with colors that human eyes could barely process. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated the clicks into words that everyone could understand. "Welcome to the assembly," the Varathan said. "The collective has called this gathering for a special purpose. We have created a new tool, a scanner that can read the true strength of any species. It measures what you are and what you could become. Every representative will be scanned today. The results will be added to our records." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some species seemed excited. Others looked bored. The Keth made low rumbling sounds that might have been laughter. They were one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had nothing to prove. Laura leaned toward her team. "What do we know about this scanner?" Megan pulled up information on her tablet. "Not much. The Varathan love measuring things. They have scanners for everything. This one is supposed to read biological potential and threat level. Most species register somewhere between blue and green. The strongest ones show gold. What about red?" Daniel asked. Megan scrolled through her data. "There is a theoretical category for red. Crimson, they call it. But no species has ever registered it. The Varathan say it indicates unlimited potential. A species that could adapt to anything and overcome any enemy." She shrugged. "They think it is impossible. Just a number in their equations that has no real meaning." The scanning began. A large arch made of crystal stood on a raised platform in the center of the chamber. One by one, representatives from each species walked through it. The arch glowed, and their readings appeared on floating screens that everyone could see. The Keth went first. Their leader, a massive warrior covered in scars, walked through the arch with obvious pride. The display showed a deep green with golden edges. The Varathan announced that this indicated great physical strength and the ability to heal from almost any wound. The Keth rumbled with satisfaction. The luminary drifted through next. They registered pure white, which meant their energy-based bodies were beyond normal measurement. The Varathan admitted they did not fully understand the Luminari, and probably never would. Species after species took their turn. Blue for intelligence, green for strength, purple for mental powers, amber for coordination and teamwork, gray for those who had not developed very far. The colors filled the screens like a rainbow, and the crowd watched with casual interest. No one paid attention to the humans standing in the corner. "When is our turn?" Lara asked. "We'll last," Daniel said. "Newest species goes last. It is tradition. Or they just forgot about us," Megan added. An hour passed. Then, too, the humans watched and waited as the galaxy showed off its power. They saw species that could breathe fire, species that could survive in the vacuum of space, species that could read minds from a distance. Each one walked through the arch and received their classification. Finally, the Varathan speaker turned toward the human delegation. Its compound eyes reflected hundreds of tiny images of Lara's face. "The humans will now be scanned," it announced. The chamber grew slightly quieter. Not silent, but curious. The newest species in the galaxy was about to be measured. Most expected a weak reading. Gray, perhaps, or a pale blue. Something fitting for creatures who still measured their history in mere thousands of years. Lara straightened her uniform and walked toward the platform. Her footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. She could feel alien eyes watching her from every direction. Some were curious. Some were amused. None were worried. She stepped onto the platform and faced the crystal arch. Up close, it hummed with a soft energy that made her skin tingle. She could see lights moving inside it, patterns that shifted and changed like living things. "Please proceed," the Varathan said. Lara took a breath and walked through the arch. The lights wrapped around her. She felt something moving through her, reading her, measuring her. It was not painful, but it was strange. Like being seen all at once, inside and out. Then the display flickered, and the chamber went completely silent. The screen showed crimson. Deep, pulsing, violent red. Warning symbols appeared around the reading, flashing in languages from a dozen different worlds. The Varathan operating the scanner clicked rapidly, their wings vibrating so fast they blurred. Lara stood on the other side of the arch and looked at her reading. She had no idea what it meant, but from the fear spreading through the chamber, she knew one thing for certain. Everything had just changed. 3 days passed. The assembly was paused while the Varathan tried to understand the human readings. The 3 humans were moved to a special section of the station, not quite prisoners, but not quite free either. Guards stood outside their quarters at all times. Lara spent the time reading reports from Earth and preparing for whatever came next. Daniel exercised and studied the station's layout. Megan buried herself in the scientific data the Varathan were producing about human biology. On the 3rd morning, a Varathan delegation arrived at their door. "The inquiry will begin now," the leader announced. "You will come with us." They were led through winding corridors to a chamber Lara had not seen before. It was smaller than the main assembly hall, but still large enough to hold several hundred beings. Raised platforms along the walls held representatives from the major powers. The Keth, the Luminari, the Varathan, and a dozen other species Lara could not name. In the center of the room stood a single platform with 3 chairs. The humans were directed to sit there. A Varathan scientist stepped forward. Unlike the speaker from before, this one moved slowly and carefully. Her wings were folded flat against her back, and her eyes seemed tired. "I am called Researcher First Class Kestra," she said. "I have spent the last 3 days studying human biology. I will share what I have learned." She activated a display that floated in the air above the humans. Images appeared showing human anatomy, brain structure, and chemical processes. "Human bodies are unusual," Kestra began. "Not in any single way," but in many small ways that add up to something significant. Your muscles can tear themselves apart and rebuild stronger. Your bones can break and heal harder than before. Your brain can rewire itself after damage. These things are rare in the galaxy. Most species heal, but they return to what they were. Humans heal and become something more. She changed the image to show chemical formulas. Your bodies produce a substance you call adrenaline. When you are afraid or angry or in danger, this chemical floods your system. It makes you faster and stronger. It blocks pain. It pushes your body beyond its normal limits. She paused. Other species have similar chemicals. But in humans, the effect is 10 times stronger than average. Perhaps more. We know about adrenaline, Megan said. It is basic biology. Yes, but what you may not know is how it changes you. Kester pulled up a new image. When humans experience extreme stress, their bodies do not just respond. They adapt. Your cells begin to change. Your neural pathways rewrite themselves. You do not simply survive danger. You evolve to handle it better next time. A Keth representative interrupted. All species adapt over generations. That is evolution. Yes, but humans do it within a single lifetime. And sometimes within a single day. Kestra turned to face the gathered representatives. Let me give you an example. A human who survives a near drowning will develop better lung capacity and stronger swimming instincts. A human who survives a severe beating will develop faster reflexes and higher pain tolerance. These changes happen quickly, sometimes within weeks. That is impossible, the Keth said. We tested it. We ran simulations based on human medical records. The data is clear. Kestra's wings twitched. But this is not the most unusual thing we found. The display changed again. This time, it showed brain scans with certain areas highlighted in red. Human psychology is even more interesting than human biology, Kestra continued. Your brains contain a trait we have not seen in any other species. Your translators might call it spite, or defiance, or stubbornness. But those words are not quite right. She pointed to the highlighted areas. These regions of your brain activate when you are told something is impossible. When you are told you cannot win. When you are told to give up. In other species, these situations trigger retreat responses. The logical choice is to stop fighting and conserve resources for another day. But not in humans? The Luminari elder asked. No. In humans, being told something is impossible makes them want to do it more. Being told they cannot win makes them fight harder. Being defeated does not make them give up. It makes them angry. And angry humans are extremely dangerous. Laura thought about her own life. The time she had been told she was not good enough, could not succeed, should give up and try something easier. Each time, those words had made her more determined. She had never thought about it as unusual. It was just how humans worked. There is one more thing, Kestra said. Her voice was quieter now. Humans hold grudges. Many species remember their enemies, Varek said from his platform. Not like this. Human grudges last for generations. Hundreds of years after a conflict ends, humans will still teach their children who wronged them. They pass down their anger like a gift. They remember every insult, every injury, every defeat. And they wait. Wait for what? The Luminari asked. For the right moment. Humans understand time in a way other species do not. They know they are short-lived. They know they may not see their revenge. So they plan for their children to have it. Or their children's children. It does not matter how long it takes. Humans will wait forever to settle a score. The chamber was very quiet. Laura looked at the faces around her and saw something she had not expected. These ancient, powerful species were afraid. Not of what humans were now, but of what they might become. Kestra closed her display. This is why humans register crimson on the scanner. Their bodies can adapt to any threat. Their minds refuse to accept defeat. And their memories ensure they will never forget who hurt them. Given enough time and enough motivation, humans can overcome anything. So they are a threat, Varric said. Not now. Now they are one planet with primitive technology. But in 100 years? 1,000? 10,000? Kestra spread her wings slightly. The scanner does not show what humans are. It shows what they could become. And there is no limit to that potential. The Luminary Elder drifted forward. What do you recommend? Kestra was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful. I do not know. We could try to destroy them now, before they grow stronger. But humans breed quickly and spread widely. We would have to eliminate every human everywhere. And if even a few survived, they would remember. They would adapt. They would come back. Then we welcome them as allies, the Luminari suggested. That is the other option. Give them a place in the galactic community. Help them grow. Make them our friends rather than our enemies. Kestra looked at the human delegation. But that requires trust. And I do not know if any species here is ready to trust a crimson-rated species. Lara stood up from her chair. The guards moved toward her, but she raised her hands to show she meant no harm. May I speak? She asked. Kestra hesitated, then nodded. Lara faced the gathered representatives. You have spent 3 days studying us, learning what we are. Let me tell you something you cannot learn from scanners and simulations. She took a breath. Humans do not want war. We have had enough war. Our history is full of it, and we are tired. We came to the stars looking for something better, something new, a chance to grow beyond the violence that has defined us for so long. Pretty words, Varric said. But words are easy. Yes, they are. So let me give you a promise instead. Lara looked directly at the Keth warrior. We will not start any fights. We will not attack anyone who has not attacked us first. We will trade fairly, negotiate honestly, and treat everyone with respect. And if someone attacks you? Lara's eyes grew harder. Then they will learn why the scanner reads crimson. They will learn what happens when humans stop being peaceful and start being angry. And they will regret it for whatever time they have left. The chamber was silent. Lara sat back down. Kestra looked at the representatives around the room. The inquiry is complete. You have the information. The decision about what to do with humans is now yours to make. The inquiry ended without a decision. The major powers needed time to discuss what they had learned. The humans were returned to their quarters and told to wait. Lara spent the evening going over everything that had happened. The scanner reading, the Vorathan research, the fear in alien eyes when they looked at her. It was a lot to process. Do you think they will let us go home? Megan asked. She was sitting on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. I do not know, Lara admitted. They might decide we are too dangerous to let leave. They might decide to hold us here forever. Or, worse. Daniel was standing by the door, listening for any sounds from the guards outside. If they try to take us, I can buy you some time to escape. No one is escaping anything, Lara said firmly. We are diplomats, not soldiers. If we fight our way out of here, we prove that we are the threat they think we are. And then humanity pays the price. So we just wait? Do nothing? We wait and see. Sometimes that is all you can do. The next morning, something unexpected happened. The guards outside their door stepped aside, and a single Keth walked in. It was not Varric, the warrior who had challenged Lara. This one was smaller, younger, with scales that were still mostly smooth. I am Krenna, the Keth said. I am a student of history. I have been studying your species since the scanner reading. And what have you learned? Laura asked carefully. Krenna sat down on the floor, which put her roughly at eye level with the humans. I learned that your species is insane. I mean this with respect. Despite everything, Laura almost laughed. Explain. Your history is full of events that should have destroyed you. Ice ages, plagues, wars with weapons that could burn entire cities in seconds. You have created poisons that could kill everything on your planet, and then stored them in buildings next to where you live. You have split the atom, walked on your moon, and explored the depths of your oceans. Every time something tried to kill you, you killed it back or learned to live with it. That is just survival, Daniel said. No, other species would have stopped, would have found a comfortable level and stayed there. But humans never stop. You are always reaching for more, even when reaching could destroy you. Krenna made a sound that might have been a sigh. It is terrifying. And also fascinating. Why are you here? Laura asked. I do not think you came just to tell us we are crazy. I came to warn you. Vorak is not happy with the inquiry results. He thinks the Varathan are making humans sound more dangerous than they really are. He wants proof. Krenna paused. He's going to challenge one of you to a contest. Daniel straightened. What kind of contest? Combat. Single fight, no weapons, until one opponent surrenders or cannot continue. He will challenge the male human. He thinks males are the fighters in your species. That is not entirely accurate, Megan said. I know. I read about your history. Your females have been warriors, leaders, scientists, everything. But Vorak does not know this. He thinks human males are the strong ones and human females are the weak ones. Krenna looked at Daniel. He will challenge you because he thinks he can beat you easily. He wants to embarrass humanity in front of the assembly. And if Daniel wins? Laura asked. He will not win. Vorak is 9 feet tall and weighs 800 pounds. His scales can stop bullets. His claws can tear through ship armor. No human could defeat him in a fair fight. Who said anything about a fair fight? Everyone turned to look at Daniel. His face was calm, but there was something in his eyes that Laura had not seen before. Something old and cold. What are you thinking? She asked. I am thinking that Vorak expects to fight a prey animal. A weak, frightened creature who will run away or freeze up when faced with a real predator. Daniel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I am thinking that he has never fought a human before. Daniel, you cannot beat a Keth warrior in direct combat. It is physically impossible. You are right. I cannot beat him in direct combat. But combat is never direct. There are always angles, weaknesses, opportunities. Daniel had started pacing now, his soldier's mind working through the problem. How long do I have before he challenges me? Maybe a day. Maybe less. He is impatient. Good. That gives me time to prepare. He looked at Megan. I need everything you have on Keth anatomy. Weak points, pressure spots, anything vulnerable. Megan nodded and pulled out her tablet. Daniel, Laura said. If you fight him and lose, it proves that humans are weak. Exactly what Vorak wants. And if I refuse to fight, it proves we are cowards. Also what Vorak wants. Daniel shook his head. There is no good option here. So I will take the bad option and make it work. How? By showing them what humans really are. Not our muscles or our size or our physical strength. Those things do not matter. What matters is what is in here. He tapped his head. Humans win because we think. We plan. We prepare. And we never, ever give up. Laura wanted to argue, but she could see he had made up his mind. Daniel Cooper had spent 20 years in Earth's military. He had fought in wars, survived situations that should have killed him, faced enemies who were stronger and better equipped. And he was still here. Maybe that was the point. Maybe that was what the Crimson rating really meant. "What do you need?" she asked. "Time, information, and a little bit of luck." Daniel turned to Krenna. "Thank you for the warning. Why did you help us?" The young Keth was quiet for a moment. "Because I read your history. All of it. The terrible parts and the beautiful parts. The wars and the art. The cruelty and the kindness. And I realized something." "What?" "Humans are not just survivors. You are dreamers. You look at the stars and want to touch them. You look at impossible things and say, 'I wonder if I could do that.' Every other species in the galaxy reached a point where they stopped dreaming and started maintaining, holding on to what they had. But humans still dream." Krenna stood up. "I do not want to see that destroyed. Whatever humans become, I want to be there to watch, even if it terrifies me." She walked to the door, then stopped and looked back. "One more thing. Keth have a spot between the third and fourth scale on the inside of our left legs. The scales there do not overlap properly. A blade could reach the artery beneath." She paused. "I should not have told you that." "I will not tell anyone you did," Daniel said. Krenna nodded and left. Lara looked at Daniel. "You are really going to do this?" "I am. You know he might kill you." "Yes, and you are going to fight him anyway." Daniel smiled that cold smile again. "Lara, I am a human. We have been fighting things bigger and stronger than us since we climbed down from the trees. We fought bears with sticks. We hunted mammoths with spears. We conquered a planet full of creatures that wanted to eat us." He shrugged. "Vorak is just another predator. And predators can be beaten. You just have to be smart about it." Megan looked up from her tablet. "I have the anatomical data. There are 17 potential weak points on a Keth body. Most are hard to reach, but a few are accessible if you know where to look." "Show me everything," Daniel said, and they began to plan. The challenge came the next afternoon. Vorak stood in the middle of the main chamber, his voice echoing off the walls as he demanded that humanity prove itself. The assembly had gathered to watch. Hundreds of species filling the viewing platforms around the arena floor. Daniel stepped forward before Lara could say anything. "I accept," he said. Vorak made a sound like grinding stone. "Good. I expected you to run. Humans do not run. Then you will die. Perhaps, but not today." The rules were simple. No weapons, no assistance, no leaving the arena. The fight continued until one opponent surrendered or could not continue. Medical teams stood ready on both sides, though everyone knew they were really only there for Daniel. No one expected Vorak to need them. The arena was a circle about 50 feet across, with smooth metal flooring and walls high enough to prevent escape. Daniel stood in the center, looking very small compared to the massive Keth warrior across from him. Lara watched from the human platform, her hands clenched so tight her knuckles were white. Beside her, Megan was recording everything on her tablet. If Daniel died here, Earth would want to know exactly what happened. "Begin," the Varathan speaker announced. Vorak charged immediately. He moved faster than something his size should be able to move, crossing half the arena in seconds. His clawed hand swept toward Daniel's head with enough force to tear it clean off. But Daniel was not there anymore. He had dropped low and rolled to the side, coming up several feet away. Vorak's claws cut through empty air and sparked against the arena floor. "Stand still, prey," Vorak growled. Daniel did not answer. He was already moving again, circling to the Keth's left side. His movements were calm and controlled, like he had done this 1,000 times before. Vorak attacked again, and again, and again. Each time, Daniel was somewhere else when the blow landed. He did not try to block or counter. He just moved, staying always just out of reach, always one step ahead. The crowd began to murmur. This was not what they expected. Prey was supposed to freeze or panic. Prey was supposed to be easy to catch. But this human moved like water, flowing around every attack. You cannot run forever, Vorik snarled. His breathing was getting heavier. The constant attacks were tiring him, though he would never admit it. I am not running, Daniel said. I am waiting. For what? For you to make a mistake. Vorik roared and charged again. This time, he did not swing at Daniel. Instead, he tried to grab him, using his massive arms to corner the human against the arena wall. It worked. Daniel found himself trapped, the wall behind him and Vorik blocking any escape. The Keth grinned with rows of sharp teeth. Nowhere to go now, Prey. Daniel's hand moved. Something small and bright flashed in his grip, a blade no longer than his finger. Where it had come from, no one could say. It sliced through the air and found the spot Krenna had described, the gap between the third and fourth scale on Vorik's inner left leg. The Keth screamed. Dark blood poured from the wound, more than seemed possible from such a small cut. His leg buckled, and he fell to one knee. Daniel stepped back, the tiny blade already hidden again. Your artery is severed. You have maybe 2 minutes before you lose consciousness. Surrender and let the medical team save you. Vorik's eyes were wide with shock and pain. You had a weapon. That is against the rules. No weapons were allowed in the arena. I did not bring this blade in. It was hidden in my mouth, behind my teeth. Daniel shrugged. Humans are creative. The crowd was completely silent. They had just watched a small, fragile human defeat one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Not through strength, but through planning and patience and a willingness to do whatever it took to survive. Vorik tried to stand. His leg would not support him. Blood continued to flow onto the arena floor. Surrender, Daniel said again. You are beaten. For a long moment, the Keth warrior stared at him. Then, slowly, he lowered his head. I yield. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor. They stopped the bleeding and carried Vorik away. He would survive, though he would always walk with a limp. Daniel walked back to the human platform. His face was pale and his hands were shaking, but he held himself straight. Lara grabbed his arm as he reached her. How did you know that would work? She demanded. I did not know. I hoped. He let out a long breath. Humans are good at hoping. The assembly reconvened the next day. This time, the atmosphere was very different. Where before the humans had been ignored or watched with curiosity, now they were watched with respect. Even fear. The Varathan speaker called for order. The matter of human classification must be decided. How does the assembly wish to proceed? The Luminary Elder spoke first. Humans have shown us what they are. They are not the strongest species. They are not the most advanced. But they do not need to be. They find ways to win regardless of the odds. The Elder's form shifted through thoughtful colors. I propose we accept them as full members of the Galactic community. They are dangerous, representative from one of the smaller species said. Yes, that is exactly why we should make them our friends rather than our enemies. The Elder turned to face the human delegation. Do you accept this offer? Lara stood. She had prepared a speech, but suddenly the words seemed unnecessary. Instead, she spoke from her heart. We accept, and we want you to understand something. Humans are not looking for conquest. We are not looking for war. We came to the stars because we wanted to grow, to learn, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. She paused. But we will not be pushed around. We will not be treated as lesser beings. We will stand equal with every species here, or we will stand alone. Those are the only options. And if someone does push you? Vorak asked from his medical platform. His voice was weak, but there was something new in his eyes. Something like respect. Then they will regret it. We will not start fights, but we will finish them, always. Lara met his gaze. You know that now, better than anyone. Vorak was silent for a moment. Then he made a gesture that the translator called a warrior's acknowledgement. Humans, he said slowly, are prey that bites back. I will remember this. Good. Because we remember everything. The vote was called. Species after species expressed their decision. When it was done, humanity had been accepted into the galactic community by an overwhelming majority. Only a handful of species voted against, and most of those changed their votes when they saw which way things were going. Lara and her team were escorted to their shuttle that evening. As they walked through the station, they passed representatives from dozens of species. Each one nodded or made some gesture of recognition. Not friendship, necessarily, but acknowledgement. An understanding that these small creatures from a young world deserved to be seen. Daniel walked beside Lara, still moving carefully from his fight with Vorak. Do you think we made the right choice? Accepting their offer? I think we made the only choice. Humanity is not ready to face the galaxy alone. We need allies, trade partners, friends. This gives us a chance to build those things. And if they turn on us someday? Lara smiled. Then we do what we have always done. We adapt. We survive. We win. She looked up at the stars visible through the corridor windows. We are humans, Daniel. The universe has been trying to kill us since the beginning. It has not succeeded yet. I do not think it ever will. Behind them, the scanner sat dark and silent in the assembly chamber. It had done its job. It had measured every species in attendance and given each one a color that showed their potential. The humans had registered crimson, and the galaxy would never forget what that meant.